What's going on, my freaks and geeks? We're the Square Roundtable Podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Guys, we have some very special guests with us tonight. Please, guys, give a warm Square Roundtable welcome to the creators of award-winning animated short film Umbrellas, José Prats, Álvaro Robles, and Alicia Canovas.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And your animated short film has been doing fantastic. I see you guys have won some awards already. We're very proud of you guys. I know when I saw, because I came in contact with you through LinkedIn, and as soon as I saw like the animation style and the artwork for Umbrellas, like I was immediately captivated. I was like, I definitely have to hit you up, and I had to have you on my show from that point. So.
It's a pleasure to be here and ready to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. Once again, I can't really say too many positive things about your film, because just watching it, I watched it a couple of times through, and it's really a big melting pot of a lot of different ideas. And I know of you guys' background, and I can see all the different influences, and it's like a melting pot of all of that good stuff that comes together like a orchestra. And it's really beautiful how the end product came out, and we'll definitely talk about a lot of that as we get further in the podcast. But I want to start off, and all of you guys can answer, I just want to know a little bit about all of your backgrounds. And all of you guys are obviously in the arts and film. I wanted to know what led you guys to pursuing careers in visual arts. And anybody
crazy.
Look, we're the same way. We're all artists here, so I'm crazy too. I get it.
So, Álvaro, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, so my background is actually in advertising. So I studied here in Spain. You have this advertising career, which is also with PR. But I used to work also in a video club. Before all the video clubs here in Spain, they were closed. Before they closed, I had the chance to work on one of those. So I always loved stories, films, and I had the theory with a friend, with an old colleague from an advertising agency I used to work for, that people, copywriters or art directors, people that work in advertising industry, they think, okay, working in the movies, doing a movie would be so awesome, but I don't think I can make it, so I will stick with a shooting advertising spot or something like that, and that will be it. Mm-hmm. So I used to think that way, but our lives, I lived with José, and I told him, let's study film, let's do something about this, and that was the beginning of trying to shoot films, and after that we did Umbrellas. But that's the long story short.
That's awesome. That's awesome stuff. So you guys have known each other for a while.
Yeah, José can talk about that.
Yeah, actually, Álvaro and I, we come from the same town. Yeah, our hometown is a very little town in the south east of Spain, in the region of Murcia. And actually, Álvaro was, and he's one of the best friends of my brother. And that's how we met. It's a very small town. Everyone knows each other. And we hung out very often. And Álvaro always says that actually it was only him and myself, the ones who talked about comic books, film, arts in general. And while the other ones were talking about, I don't know, something else, drinking or
we were freaks and geeks.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes.
And the thing is that, we've been collaborating, him and I, for, I don't know, 10 years, something.
More than that. Our first work together was a tiny comic book, 4 pages, in a region in a contest in Murcia, and we won. So the thing is that the award was given by this, I don't remember the name. His name doesn't ring a bell. He's drawing Deadpool for Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So for us was like wow, this guy is telling us that what we did was good. So that was when I was 19. So José was 20 years old, something like that. So that was the first time. Kind of, because he was studying with Alicia. They were both in Italy. It was a scholarship, and I was studying. I was studying advertising. So for us, that was okay. We can do something, and we can get money from this. Okay, let's dig into this.
It was all about money, really.
Yeah, of course. We are in the art just for the money. So
I get it. So that was the first kind of indicator, but that's really cool. The guys and I, we recently had a situation like that where one of our favorite comic book artists, comic book creators, validated work that we've been doing. So I know for you guys young in your careers, that must have been like just world breaking for somebody that established to let you know that, hey, you know what you guys are doing is pretty great.
100%, yeah. And I guess to give you a brief overview of my background, I used to draw a lot when I was a child. And then for some reason, I quit drawing. Then I turned into maths and physics and science. And I started, actually, when I finished high school, I started a degree in architecture. But when I was halfway through the first year, the first course, I decided that I didn't want to pursue a career as an architect. I didn't really want to be an architect. And that's when because we had some subjects focused solely on drawing and drawing buildings and landscapes and all that. And those were the ones that I was enjoying the most. And I thought I should switch to something else. And then I stepped into fine arts. That was like the new vocation I had, to draw and to paint. And that's where, and then the next year I started a degree from scratch, of course, in fine arts, a bachelor degree in fine arts.
Wow.
And that's where I met Alicia. And this was 2007. And it's curious because I was born on 1988. She was born on 1989. Thanks to myself spending or wasting 1 year in architecture, we eventually met.
That's cool.
First year of fine arts. And we grew up through our late teens and early 20s, drawing, painting, sculpting, and also making films, very amateurish films in uni. But yeah, that was our beginning. And when I want to Alicia also explain a little bit of her background.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna try to be brief. But yeah, I always loved drawing and mostly painting in particular when I was a kid. And to be honest, I really liked animation movies as a kid. But what I liked the most were always the backgrounds.
Okay.
I'm not really a digital person. I know this era we are living nowadays, you need to be, but I'm more like a old-fashioned artist.
Same.
When I was watching those movies, I really liked the way they were doing the background with the old-fashioned way
in
of
Disney
painting.
Movies, right?
Yeah, like the classic. Yeah, I'm talking about the classic 2D animation movies.
Yes.
Exactly. When I grow up, the movies weren't made that way anymore. So now, anyway. So I ended up studying fine arts, as José said, and then we both started getting into kind of in love with animation. But
I'm in love with ourselves as well, right?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right? First Disney, then you, Jose. Walt was a ladies' man, so.
I forgot what I was gonna say. No,
sorry.
But I was gonna say into the animation. Jose went so. Even if I really loved 2D when I was a kid, I ended up going more into stop motion because I discovered that with that technique, you ended up drawing, painting, sculpting, basically being like a traditional handicraft person. And that's why what I am still doing nowadays, for living. I work as a model maker in stop motion, even with develop umbrellas, which is a 2D animation project. But yeah, in general, I do really love any kind of animation, really.
Same.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
really
definitely.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say it's interesting that you brought up stop motion animation, because I always thought it was funny how stop motion animation, like the frame by frame and like merging those frames together to be able to get motion and kind of storyboarding in 2D animation is the same in a way.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the way it's, you film stop motion is really like live action as well. It's very similar to like, so I don't know, and yeah, like it's really magical in that way.
It
So
is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So,
So-
yeah, as much as I was doing it, I just couldn't stop really.
No, that's awesome, because we're like, especially me, like I'm a huge stop motion fan. And you said you make models, like for so you make the puppets for stop motion. Oh, okay. So how long? So I know that when you're designing it, they start off as like a 2-dimensional drawing. But so how long does it usually take you to transcribe drawing and make it into a 3D model?
Well, I would say for me, it would take a week, probably.
Okay.
Like a night. But I have to say, I've been working the last in a studio in Manchester called Mackiner and Sanders.
Manchester, UK.
Yeah, Manchester, UK.
Oh, okay.
Over there, the sculptors they have normally a maximum of 3 days. If I'm not sure, I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe they have more time depending on the design. But doesn't really normally take longer to make.
But that's just the sculpture, right?
Yes. Only like
the prototype.
The prototype. And just talking about the prototype, you normally show to the client who's interested in the like movie, short film, whatever. And then to make the puppet, that's
but that takes
that would
month,
take
right?
months normally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
like a basic one, maybe could take like 4 weeks, like a month, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
That's crazy.
that's a process.
Just so you know, guys, first what they make is a maquette in clay. They do a mold out of it. It's very technical, but that's the starting point. And then they create a mold, then they cast a puppet with the armature, which also takes a few weeks to get done. Like a skeleton with all the joints so that it can move, actually.
It's like a very expensive toy, actually.
Yeah.
Right.
I bet.
It's
Seriously.
and you said that it's every puppet, it depends on how many copies you want from the same puppet, because for feature films especially, they may need, I don't know,
like 10 maybe,
yeah,
for
10
the
or
main
different
character.
sizes. But they
Wow.
can, it's around 10 grand, right?
In 2D
wow.
animation, if you need, if you are shooting the same character with different backgrounds, you can just draw the same character once or like twice or wherever. But
Exactly.
you need to have the puppet. Imagine there is like a movie with only 2-3 characters. It will take really long time if you only have those 3 characters. But if you have 30, like 10 of each, you can have 30 animators working on the movie. So you need a puppet for animator.
Wow, that's crazy. So that makes it like the speed line's like the whole process. Like if like you said, if it had one for one animator, it would take like longer periods of time than if you had 30 for each one. So you cut down the process.
Exactly. And also depending on the animation as well, depending on what the character really needs to do, you can make it with the armature, or sometimes you need to be really precise, or you need to study like which silicone you are gonna use, or foam latex, because it needs to be flexible. For example, if it's gonna be moving a lot or things like that.
Wow. You can see we're extremely interested because there's so many different avenues you can go down with stop motion. Like I know, Jose, you had a background at Aardman, and Aardman specifically has a like definite type of character that they use, or just a specific style And Jose, Alicia, he actually told me about your time working on Isle of Dogs. And that was another art style that was like really specific. I wanted to know, did you work a lot on designing those characters or transposing them into 3D models?
Yeah, in Isle of Dogs, the movie was filmed in London, but we made some of the puppets in Macron and Sanders in Manchester. So they make the sculpt.
But it was Takashi, your friend. Yeah, the maquettes were done by the two sculptors in the studio. And you worked on molds, right? The mold department.
Silicones.
Or silicone department.
I normally casting process of the.
That's really cool. So you were a whole rock star.
Well, yeah, actually, dogs. I also made some costume for some humans, not for the dogs.
Nice. No, that's really cool.
It was very nice because we did a little bit of dogs and also the human characters. So it was a little bit of everything. And yeah, it was a really nice project to work in.
That's awesome. So yeah, once I heard of it, I was like, wow, I definitely gotta ask because that's my movie. Like I love dogs. So it's an awesome experience to have the chance to talk to somebody that worked really hard on that film also. So you did a great job. You and the rest of the team, that was awesome. So
yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask you guys, how often do artists merge 2D animation and stop motion animation in films?
I don't know. In commercial animation, stop motion animation is generally it's much more expensive, and I'm trying to recall.
No, there are some short films.
I mean, in short film, short films, as it is not that commercial. For example, in London, there is a film school called National Film and Television School, and they mix a lot of techniques. So you find some shorts made both in stop motion animation and 2D animation. But for example, in Coraline, pure stop motion films, Coraline or Kubo and the Two Strings or Box Trolls, I don't quite remember if there were.
It's not that common, yeah. So you can mix, or you can see mixed 2D and 3D animation. For example, in TV shows like in Family Guy, I remember some shots are using 3D models for cars or houses.
Sure.
You can see that also in Futurama. I'm rewatching it now with my brother, and I say, oh, that's an early 3D model over there, because with the ship going through the space and things like that. So in order to force the perspective, you can use 3D, but mixing stop motion and 2D is not that common. I remember a short, the one with the. Yeah, in live action, the big robot from RoboCop was a stop motion.
Right, great example.
In the 80s. Now Disney in a Star Wars film, I think they must have used stop motion shots. And I don't really know, but they are trying to recover that nostalgia 80s feeling by putting animatronics and stop motion to have that old vibe that old movies used to have. All to make money. Once again,
exactly. And to make money.
It's always about the money. It's always about the money, right?
It's all about the money.
Wes Anderson, he mixes a little bit of stop motion in his live action films. If I don't remember wrongly, in Hotel Budapest, I think there were some stop motion scenes, like very scattered through the film. I think that there was a maquette of the hotel, and also
his last one, I think.
Oh yeah, in French. What was
Dispatch? The French Dispatch.
There were some stop motion scenes, but they are very well blended with live action. And I think James and what's
the Giant Peach.
Giant Peach. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's Henry Selick, because he made that one. He made Nightmare Before Christmas, and he also made Monkey Bone. I think it was
Monkey Bone.
Yeah, it's not that well known, but I think he put also some stop motion shots in that one. Yeah. So
Gondry, well, Michael Gondry also.
Yeah. In The Science of Sleep, he uses a lot of stop motion. Yeah, he does. But that's it. So you can mix stop motion and live action. Normally it fits well. 2D in live action with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, for example, or Space Jam. But mixing stop motion and 2D, I think it's something for independent European short films.
No, I definitely understand.
As well. Yeah.
Media
Oh,
or commercial.
Yeah. But
Or-
once
or
again,
more-
that's Michel Gondry. Once again, has done some video clips with stop motion and a lot of techniques. And also the Japanese. I remember one movie was called Mind Game, and it mixed, I don't know, 3D, 2D, stop motion,
I'm gonna have to watch that.
animation. It's like a gamble. That's another one that does, yeah.
See, you guys are gonna have to give me a list of films because I
Right?
love mixed. You're naming a lot of stuff, and I love mixed mediums, so I'm definitely gonna have to check all of those out for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But
And
or were you about to say something, Josh?
yeah, I was gonna say, well, considering you guys' background in like architecture, advertising, and stop motion, how has all those mediums helped you fully realize umbrellas?
Well, actually, I don't know about architecture, but the two backgrounds that Alicia and I had in 2D animation, which I had, and stop motion, it's worth mentioning that we did a test before getting with the final look of umbrellas. Álvaro, Alicia, a couple of friends, and myself, we gathered for a week in summertime. This was like 6-7 years ago, to make a couple of tests, very quick tests of umbrellas. One was meant to be in stop motion and the other one in 2D animation. We basically wanted to know in which technique umbrellas, and to be more accurate, Dean's beard, the father's huge umbrella shape beard, was gonna work better. And Alicia and a friend of hers, another puppet maker, they made a puppet of Dean, actually, and it's beautiful. There are a few pictures in our Facebook webpage. Alvaro is holding one on his arm, which is beautiful as well. I'm talking about the puppet, not about Alvaro. So okay, I'll show yourself. But yeah, and actually, we were, all of us, the whole team, we were in love with the puppet. It was so nice, but we could anticipate that making a whole movie in stop motion was going to be way more expensive, probably twice as expensive. And also the rain in stop motion, as an umbrella is raining all the time. The rain in stop motion is not that easy to convey. And in particular, the 2D animation for this three-dimensional look of the beard, which resembles the shape of an umbrella, or if you like, a triangle, it was much better portrayed in 2D animation. That's why we moved on with that technique.
There's a lesson we got from our first filmmaking course. It was like something like a movie isn't complete until you take out your favorite shot. So you learn about sacrificing things that you like to get the best, to get the best version of your story, of your short, of your movie. So sometimes you get in the way of a good story. Like, this is what I want, this is what I like, and we all fell in love, like, of the puppet. But that's something dangerous, because you are putting your own taste before the story. So one thing that we all agree on the team is the story comes first, and then the looks or the style, or if it doesn't help the story to be told in a good way, it's not worth it to do it. But at least the lesson is that we did good in trying, because we did both tests, in 2D and in stop motion, so we could see what we were talking about. So it was a lot of work, but it was worth it. Even though we were in love with the puppet, we said, yeah, we like this a lot, because when you can touch it, and Alicia is amazing, and her friend Dick, they both did an amazing job. She said, you take 1 week in order to do a maquette. So they did in 1 day or something like that, and it was amazing. It was like this. The character is Dean, and it was like this beautiful toy. Like I wanted to play with it. It was like, you're making me a child again. So it was really nice. But once again, the story worked better in 2D. We could see that with that test. So it's important to test if you can, but it's good to do it.
No, and that's very big, I guess, of all of you to just see, okay, even though I love this, it's gonna make, like you said, it's gonna be number one, really expensive. And then it might not lend to the story in the way it should. And I think you guys made a great choice because of course I'd love to see a stop motion version. So if you guys wanted to make one, I'm not gonna be upset. I think the finished product was very beautiful. I really loved it. And I want to actually talk about more of the process that went into making the film. I actually have a specific question for Alicia, but any of you guys can really jump. Upon like watching the film, I see that the story relies heavily on visuals rather than a lot of dialogue. And this is more so in the writing process of what it took to do the screenplay and the original story as well. I wanted to know, what was the process of writing this type of story?
Actually, it's José's fault.
It's always José's fault.
You're just blaming it all on you, José. I understand.
We let the dogs out, José, of course.
Everything started from an illustration José made back in 2012.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, neither of us were working, and we really wanted to do a project together. So we had the idea of going to an artist residence where they could help us with accommodation, etc. The thing is that we wanted to develop a project, and we started like of the process of thinking what kind of idea we could came across with. And then all of a sudden, José was also at the same time working on his portfolio, developing his portfolio. And then I just saw one of his illustrations, and the first illustration of umbrellas, well, actually,
I'm gonna share it with you guys.
yeah, like maybe we show it to you.
You can check it
Oh,
out.
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well,
Carry on. Yeah, it's on the chat.
so basically, it's
Okay, cool.
the characters are different, but they are the same kind of shape, really, which is the father with the shape of the umbrella.
Oh wow, that's it.
So the thing is that so that's the thing, like José really made that, but when I saw that is when I said to José, and the thing is that the father was holding an umbrella in the illustration. So then I said to José, like, I thought maybe the umbrellas, the father didn't really need the umbrella because with his beard, he was already covering the girl. So that was really how the kind of the very, very beginning. And then we just started like talking about this and starting to develop the world more into.
I wanted just to jump in and say that about the non-dialogue film. Actually, before being a short film, Alicia and I, we wanted to make a children's book. We also wanted to make a 1 minute video, like a teaser for the children's book, like a teaser you put on YouTube, so like it attracts.
Animation teaser.
Yeah, in animation, of course. And the thing is that then when I was with Álvaro studying in a film school in Madrid, we were doing both directing and script writing. And in the script writing course, we had to bring a short film idea or something to write about. And then I took that project, Umbrellas, and I started writing the short film, in a film format for a short film. And the thing is that for some reason, I started writing the film without dialogue because in the at all. It was just some descriptions, the story, and some images. And then Alicia, of course, she was part of the project already, and Álvaro after that jumped in, and none of us, neither the other writer, Jesus, decided that it was a better idea to tell this story with dialogue. And that's how it remained.
To be fair, at the first versions of the script, we, or at least I tried to put like a voiceover. So wow. it at first we were trying to tell the story, and at the beginning there was a lot of background for characters. So if you have to tell that background, we said, okay, let's tell this with a few images and a voiceover telling that to jump into the story. But it didn't work. It was a natural process to do those versions, to discuss the story, to see the style of the film. And the film was asking us to don't be lazy, tell this without dialogue, because of course it's harder to convey something just visually than with a dialogue. It was a challenge too in that way. So in the end, we thought that, okay, this has this classic film vibe, the story, like not in the early cinema films or something like that.
Film. It's
not like that.
Yeah, but film. It's more classic.
But it's some classic, and we thought this suits the short. This suits the story to tell this without any dialogue.
And I think that the positive effect, like that, just leaned into me being more curious about this world that these characters inhabit, because it's not, you don't have a big narration of telling, and is there like a whole kind of backstory to just the setting and where this is somewhere?
Description of the world, a brief description, but yeah, there's a backstory of Triport, which is the town where they live in, where it's always raining. Yeah.
Okay, because I definitely want to know more about it, because I was just like, this is pretty cool. But I think the not having a narration gave the mystique of it all. So I was like, okay, let me just see where this goes, instead of somebody just telling me, okay, this is what it is. It helps seeing the story unfold and just looking at the visuals and trying to piece together the puzzle, because it didn't really come together for me until the very end, especially like with the darkness that came over the baby in the beginning. I was like, what is that about? But it made sense towards the end of the film. But we'll definitely get into a lot of that stuff. But that sort of leads me into my next. Oh, were you about to say, Josh?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, definitely. Like Chad said, I really appreciate how the story isn't really so heavy on dialogue, and you just have to just more based on context of just the surroundings. And like you were saying, Alvaro, you guys just didn't want to. You were more interested on the story rather than the characters, and I really wish more projects were more focused on the story and not the character. So I appreciate it.
It's like you give so much context to where it's sort of like you reveal too much, and it's like I'm not wondering what will happen next, because I already know this character's motive. I know what's going to happen, and it's too much. I'm just like, just throw me into a situation like you guys did with umbrellas, and let me figure it out. And from different social cues or different patterns in the story, I can piece together either how, or try to piece together how it will end. And it makes the whole process really more. And with that being said, I wanted to know, or just get a walkthrough, Jose, of the whole like setting, the creation of the characters. Like, how long did that process take for you? Because you said you had the illustration, if I'm correct, before you actually told the whole story. I had it written down. Am I correct about that part? Okay, so these characters, the father and his daughter, the world, what kind of gave you the idea to make this planet or a city or a town that never stops raining? Where did that come from?
To be honest, the seed was really the first illustration, the original illustration that I did, which wasn't meant for a short film or for a children. I made it for my illustration portfolio. At the time, I was about to finish, or I had just finished and graduated in fine arts, and I wanted to make a portfolio to look for illustration jobs in the animation industry. But it's linking it to what Alicia said. We were unemployed for a bunch of months, and we wanted to do something and make something together, the children's book, and she chose that illustration as a starting point for the story. And in the illustration, we see the main character, which is the sort of creative idea. The more appealing character is Dean, the father, because of his beard. The girl and the dog are more regular in terms of design. So the most striking image was the father. And because of the beard and he being able to protect his daughter and her dog from the rain, it made sense to us that they had to live in a place where it was always raining. And then we came up with the idea, which was one of the other there are like three key illustrations that sort of they create the world of umbrellas. One of them is the original illustration. The other one is an image of the town, which is in a valley between two mountains, and between the high peaks of the mountains there is a big gray cloud trapped, and that's why it's always raining, because that was stuck there long ago and it hasn't moved. And
okay.
And that was like the second idea, to visually tell why it is always raining in this town. And the third idea, which came a bit after, from a friend of us who is an illustrator as well, working for animation. He created an umbrella flying with a basket, and then we linked, okay, maybe this is how children and newborn animals come over to this world. That's how they are given birth in a way. And we also took that to create the trauma of Kina, of our protagonist. One of the umbrellas is broken, and she gets soaked as she arrives into her house, into her father. And so those were the three illustrations. And just to very briefly tell you about the world and how we visually created this rainy world, we researched rainy places, like places very humid, where it's always where it pretty much rains every day of the year. And there are some in South America, in Colombia, Brazil, near the Amazonas. And there are some places also in Asia, because of the monsoon and all that, in the Southeast Asia. There are some rainforests there where it's pretty much raining every day of the year. But because of the father, and we did some tests, like different colors for his beard, but it had to be red. It had to be this Scottish or northern type of guy. And then we decided, okay, so the world, if anything, should be based more in the northern of Europe or North UK, but there wasn't a specific culture in terms of architecture and landscape and animals and all that. There wasn't really a specific culture to set umbrellas in, so we mixed a little bit of everything to create this fantastic world, which resembles a little bit Northern Europe or Northern Britain, and that's how we created the look and the world of umbrellas. So I took a lot of time to explain the whole process, but
no, that's perfect.
That's good. Yeah.
No,
but
yeah,
like,
that's awesome. Go ahead, Dmitri.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, when you were talking about like how that's how people come into the world. Like when I saw like the beginning thing, I thought like of storks bringing in like the babies into the house or whatever. So I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, like you guys just gave me an excuse for my future kids. I'm gonna tell them, they're like, where do babies come from? Oh, watch the short film. It tells you exactly. But no, that's awesome, because when I was watching your film, I was wondering where it took place. I was like, this is definitely Seattle. Like I was trying to figure out. So that's good, because I appreciate that, because I was trying to pinpoint. I'm like, okay, where is this? But that's awesome, guys. That's definitely really cool. And I wanted to know, this question is pretty much for Álvaro, but like I said, any of you can hop in and answer at any point in time. We talked a little bit at the beginning of the podcast about the inciting incident that happens to the main character of the story. And what I get personally from the film, for me, it represents comfort and familiarity, and like the fear of the unknown, and how you represent that with the darkness and kind of like the light and dark contrast. I really think that's pretty, and it's just like it bleeds through for me, and it makes me understand it in a way that didn't really need, like you said, too much understanding or too much narration. It just comes off the page or the screen. But I wanted you to walk me through that process and the reasoning behind this narrative choice of using that light and dark contrast.
So it's for us, before explaining that, Umbrella's story has these two conflicts. So you have the conflict, Kina's conflict, and Dean's conflict is her fear of the rain. But there's also this conflict with Dean and letting her daughter grow. So he's been an overprotective parent. So we saw, like at the beginning of the show, we'll see these familiar scenes with the sheep and this mom that comes to get the baby, and we see like this house apart in a hill, and there's only Dean by himself. So we wanted to portray this man like this kind of lonely guy, so he will be really attached to this girl that comes to his life. So there's this thing about overprotection. His conflict is of overprotection. The idea of the difference, the contrast between light and darkness is to portray that for both characters. So when Kina is under his dad's beard, she sees the world with light. Everything that is covered, protected by his beard is light, is colorful. There's no harm, there's no fear. But outside that beard, all is dark. So also for Dean is kind of the same. The world under his beard is light because her daughter is there. So it was a way to portray visually this idea of fear and overprotection. So in the end, when she gets over her fear, this light starts coming from herself outside the world, and everything is covered by light and color. The rain doesn't resemble any danger anymore, so everything is safe and everything is all right. So the idea of this was translating that metaphor to tell the audience. So this girl is afraid of the rain. In order for her to be all right in the world, she needs to be covered, and she will be always, all the time, beneath her father's beard. So that was the idea of the light and darkness metaphor in the short film.
Oh, well, that's definitely awesome.
And then she just had to go and what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead, Joshua. I'll come into it later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say. And then she had to go and cut off the glorious beard.
All right.
Like a single tear just came out of my eye.
Like we said,
she cut off
spoiler alert.
Right,
Spoiler alert.
That for us, that was the natural closing of the story, natural end, because she's not afraid anymore. So she doesn't need that overprotection anymore. But we like that tiny moment when they see each other. The father is, I don't know how to react, and the girl sees his cut beard. She smiles, and he smiles back at her. So it's all right. I cut your beard, so I don't need your overprotection. But it's not that I'm pushing you away from my life. It's we both grow. So that growth is portrayed that way. When she rescued the dog, she's grown because she's no longer afraid of the rain. So her conflict, it's done. But for him, that's also gives him some closure because his beard is cut, so he's not overprotecting her daughter anymore. He doesn't need to overprotect her. He can grow from that.
Well,
Actually, during the creation of the story in production, that scene is around 1 minute and 30 seconds, and in animation, that's like insane. That's like a lot of money, and a lot of time equals a lot of. And the thing is that, in a way, as Álvaro said, Kina's dramatic arc, was completed by the end of the river scene, if you like, the scene where she rescues her dog. But and actually, the producer was tempted to finish the short right there. But we were very keen on having this last scene, because for us, it's as important the character of Dean, the father, as it is the character of the daughter. And actually, one of the weapons, one of the arguments that Álvaro and I had, and especially myself, when I phoned the producer, was Ramon, who is the name of the producer. I told him, we really have to keep this scene, because actually I did the storyboard and the animatic before we started production. And that was, when I boarded that scene, that was the only one that got me moved, like deeply moved. And that's something which is not very regular when I draw. I like drawing, but I don't get moved by my drawings at all. Maybe if I look at them after a while, I may have some nice feelings, but like be almost about to cry. That was a sensation. That was the feeling I had when I was drawing that. I was at Arman at the time. And what I did was I finished work at 6:30 p.m. And then everyone went home and they let me stay in the studio doing my own thing. And there was a guard around, a security guard in the studio.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We actually became friends because he came over. I showed him the animatic and all that. He had a little kid, so he connected with the story. And the thing is that I was by myself, very tired, drawing this last scene. and I got genuinely moved by it. And
Wow.
that's what I told the producer. Just because of this, you have to let us make this scene. And actually, was also very keen on having this scene and also trying to fight for it, because before production, the producer again said, maybe we can take out this scene. Dean is more about Kina, and he's right. And he also wanted the film to get made, but we fought harder. I like thinking
that's the struggle between
um,
so also for me, I have this theory about films that, like the landing theory, when you land in a plane, it doesn't go like this and then the travel is stopped. You need this time for the plane to smoothly land into the ground. If it does abrupt, you will like, oh, what that happened. So in order to have a good flight, you need a good landing. And for me, you need time, because the previous scene with the river, the dog, and the rescue is very emotional. Is really, I don't know how to say, like intense in terms of implication of the audience with what he's seeing. Is the dog is gonna die, what's gonna happen. So if you cut the story just there, you have that feeling still with yourself. So you need to breathe. You need to give the audience like this long scene with a pause rhythm for them to say, okay, the dog is all right, the kid is all right, that is right. So let's see what's going on after that. And for me, it's important in terms of narrative, of rhythm, even though with the emotional reasons that Jose said, that there's also like this narrative kind of filmmaking reason for me. Like you need to breathe a little bit before the movie ends and you see the credits. It's important to have that.
And actually, there is something that we also, the four writers, we were discussing about, is that if there is an ending, that these type of scenes that people put in the credits, like this is what happens after. If that, our philosophy, it may change in the future, but by now, our philosophy is that if the audience can guess what's going to happen after, don't show it. Just let them guess. It's a bit richer to have it that way. You implicate the audience. But there is no way the audience could guess that the daughter was gonna shave her father's beard.
No.
And that's why we wanted to have that. People may guess that the daughter in later the final scene, she can play with other children, she can go out on her. That's taken for granted. That's gonna happen for sure. So don't show it. But shaving her father's beard had to be shown.
Yeah, for the closure's sake, for that.
Exactly. And I think it really, for me, because at that part, like you said, to agree with you guys, it could have ended right there. And I still thought it was an amazing story. But for different reasons, I definitely felt moved by that last scene, because it was symbolism. His beard was a source of protection. It was a source of comfort. It was something he used to protect his daughter. And her pretty much story arc wasn't going to be finished until she was just like, hey, I don't need that anymore. That's fine and cool. And I needed it at this point, but I've grown as a character and this is the end of my arc. And she cut his beard off. And I was like, perfect. I love that. Definitely did a great job, guys.
Yep.
Oh yeah, totally. And just to add on to that, I thought the rain was a metaphor for just all the turmoil and bad stuff in society, and how people try to shield their children from that, or in the form of the umbrella, and how more so the dog and the baby with the umbrellas was more so, I guess, I thought those were like the more pure things in the world. And the umbrellas were trying to like shield those pure things from the impure things that doesn't make the world so nice. I just really like that comparison.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree.
No, there was definitely some really great metaphors in there. Once again, you guys really made a fantastic film. And even though it wasn't necessarily anything specific to stop motion or anything like that, I could really tell that, like I said, everybody contributed something, and it really shone through in the final product. So once again, you guys were completely awesome. But one of the last questions I have for all of you before we go is, like I said, you made this film, you guys worked really hard on it, and now you're reaping the benefits from your product. But for all the film goers and everybody that's going to get a chance to see this film, when they leave your movie, what is the take-home message that you want them to have after watching your film?
I'll leave that to Alicia.
It's basically what Joss just said. Well, you Alvaro explained it very well. Everyone can really take their personal thought about this, and as you said, link maybe the rain to a metaphoric fear or something that at some point happened to your life, and everyone has to grow up at some point. Maybe some people have to do it sooner than others for circumstances or whatever, and not everyone is born in equal circumstances anyway. So it's just exactly really a mix of all those kind of things, and I'm just really glad and happy people are really getting the idea we really wanted to tell,
which is not easy.
And
really easy. We've made other films that were not understood, and it's not easy to tell a story and get people to grasp it pretty much 100%.
And we thought so much about the rain or the darkness. Maybe we thought maybe people is not gonna like a movie or a show which is all so dark and the girl is suffering that much, or so we had so many questions.
Did you feel insecure with that whole process? For us, a good thing, so this is a familiar short. This is not only a children's short film. I would like to say that it's way to have a broad audience for parents and children. You have messages for both of them. But when we've done some Q&As with children, we are so glad that all of them understand the story really well. Like they start telling you about the metaphor of the beer, the contrast between light and darkness, the overprotection, the fear of Kina. We had this, I think all filmmakers have this insecure about releasing or a film, because they say maybe this won't be understood. I should have explained this better. You have these insecurities that start jumping on yourself, and then you release the film and okay, this belongs to the world now. This is not mine. This is just something that it's floating on his own. So you always have that, I don't know, insecure about the deeper meaning, but we like that all the children, parents are giving those explanations that are correct. But also, and this is my opinion, for me, stories are alive by themselves. They don't belong to the creators. They umbrellas, not a short film or a story or by whoever. It's like, I like to think that way. If you have a different interpretation of the one that I have, for me, it's correct and it's great. That it made you think, and it made you think something different that I had. So it happens to me when I'm showing a script to a friend, and he says, wow, but the mother is thinking of that. Wow, I never thought about that, but I love it.
That's cool.
So even though we have our own explanations of the deeper meaning of the film or the metaphors and such, we like that this feeds the imaginations of people. Like they can watch this film, think about the story, the metaphors, the conflicts, and whatever, and they will have their own theories about that. They will make them think. So for me, that's the part where we can say we've done a good job.
Exactly. I agree. I agree totally. And that's like the mark of just wonderful art. That's what happened. Well, guys, like I said, beautiful art, beautiful story, beautiful film. Thank you guys so much for putting this out into the world. And thank you. And thank you for, like I said, giving us a chance to view it. And guys, it has been such a privilege and a pleasure having you on my show today.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for coming out.
The pleasure is ours.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. And I had one more question for all of you.
Sure.
When is the Netflix series coming out?
Do you have the phone of Red Hastings? If you have it, we can call him.
Man, right. We need to get this made into a series.
Exactly.
Seriously. Oh man, but I will certainly be waiting for you guys' future projects. Like I said, I'm really enjoying this one. And yeah, before you go, please let all of our viewers and listeners know, number one, where they can see Umbrellas, and also let them know if you guys have any social media and all of that good stuff, where you are, and how people can get in touch with you, all of that good stuff.
Okay, so right now you can watch Umbrellas on Filming, which is a Spanish VOD platform, and I don't know if it can be viewable from the USA or outside Spain or Europe.
Mexico, Spain, and Portugal, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
So,
great.
but we will, because we are ending the distribution process. So when the process of showing the short in festivals, there's this discussion we have to have with the producer and the distributor to see what's going to happen with the film. And you have to pay attention to our social media. You can look for us on Facebook, on Instagram, Umbrella Short Film. And
okay, great.
Cool.
You will be able to see what's going on with the film. We are posting a lot of things every day. We are taking care of it too, so don't worry, you'll find it.
It'll find you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we really hope if this is our first quote unquote professional short film, so we don't really know what can be done or can't be done after the festival circuit, but if Netflix or another major,
by any chance,
right,
they can grab the short film and have them in their library or
their platform.
That would be amazing. But yeah, the thing is that the only platform filming, it's like Spanish, Portuguese, and Mexican. And for example, in France, which is nearby, they're gonna watch Umbrellas in that platform, which is a pity. But yeah, we really hope a major one which is all over the world, can pick Umbrellas. That would be amazing. But it's got to be said that if we are selected in any other film festival in the US, we've been in New York Children's Film Festival, also in Chicago. And the thing, if they have an online version, the film Umbrellas will be geo-blocked to the whole country, to the whole US. And if you keep an eye on our social media, you may have a chance for a week or two window to watch Umbrellas online in the festival webpage or wherever they deliver their films.
Okay.
And again, if we could come to an agreement with Netflix or any other big platform, that would be amazing. Really. I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
Netflix, HBO, Amazon, we love all of them. So
all of it.
It's fine with us. Yeah.
So anybody.
Yeah.
Great. And one more time, let us know your social media again. Let all the viewers and listeners know where they can find.
So Umbrella Short Film, it can be found in Facebook, just like that, Umbrella Short Film, and Instagram as well, Umbrella Short Film.
Awesome. Guys, no worries. We will put all of that. Oh, were you about to say something, José?
Yeah, if you want to know about our personal social media as well, or just
yeah.
So go ahead, Álvaro, and then I'll jump in.
It's I don't know how to say it in Spanish. Is L, which means him or he, SR Robles, Álvaro. I mean LR Robles in Instagram. So you can look me through there.
Great.
And mine is at José, which is JOSE, and then underscore, or how do you say underscore or dash? The dash.
Yes, the one below.
Like the lower one, or like the one in the center?
The lower one.
Okay,
underscore.
Underscore.
Yeah, you're good. Underscore.
So it's José underscore Prats, which is PRATS.
Okay.
In Instagram and Twitter as well.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then mine, have to confess, I'm a bit terrible with social media. I don't normally post that much, only probably Umbrellas stuff. But yeah, it's my name and surname, so Alicia Canovas, in both, like Instagram and Facebook. I think I'm
okay.
Cool.
Twitter, you're on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, and
well.
Twitter as well.
Forget about Twitter.
Yeah, right. Don't forget about
Right,
Twitter.
forget about Twitter. But that's cool, guys. And no worries for all the viewers and listeners. We will have all of their social media info, including the umbrellas info, in the description below. So yes, guys, this has been the Square Roundtable podcast. You can catch this podcast and all of our other amazing episodes on our website, and that's squareroundtablepod.fandomlim.com. And one more time, guys, that is squareroundtablepod.fandomlim.com. Go ahead, D.
And you can catch us on YouTube at any time. And if you like the video, smack the like button. Leave us a comment about anything we talked about on this podcast. If you had a chance to view it, let us know. Also, hit the share button. That helps us out a lot. And hit the notification bell underneath the video on the right side so you get notified of this one and our future podcasts. Speaking of Facebook, a pesky Facebook group. Get some life into there. We need some people to talk to in there, not just our parents.
Please talk to us in our Facebook group and also on our YouTube. We'll link umbrellashaircareproducts.com.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I cannot. I cannot.
Follow Twitter and
Yes.
our Instagram. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, definitely all of that good stuff. And Joshua, you are crazy. You got problems, man. But yes, guys, we've had a blast with you all today. So I would love if everybody, including our wonderful guest, if you guys can introduce yourselves one more time before we head out, that would be great. And as always, I am your host, Chad Singleton.
Dmitri.
Josh Singleton, #no.
I'm Álvaro Robles.
José Prats.
And Alicia Canovas.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
And this has been the Square Roundtable podcast, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.